wood has to dry. The only place wood's going to dry is outside of itself. And so when you have a coating that is trapping moisture, then that can actually be a worse thing and cause decay of the wood, and mold is a potential. But hi guys, I just want to do a quick video. I've done some videos recently on rising damp, and I want to show you something here because it's interesting. So these are wood panels, probably wood siding, that is not in contact with the ground, and that is one way to prevent wicking and rising damp. What's going on with my hair? But the bottom of these members are still in bad shape. So why is that? Well, the reason why is, again, the roof is sloping down on this side, and so there's a lot of water coming off, and the water doesn't shoot out. So in most cases, what I see is that the bottom sections of the wall, so in this case, this bottom section, is getting saturated by the roof runoff. And so this is where a couple things are really important. One is called the drip edge, and I don't think this roof has one. It's a great idea. You can look up search on images of drip edge, and you'll find a lot of products that qualify for that. The key thing with the drip edge is it has to kick out. And the second key detail is that you want to have a space between the drip edge and the fascia board. This is the fascia board, so that it does keep the water away and that water doesn't reverse back and get sucked back by capillary action. And so partly what's happening down here is, so this end grain is probably not finished or sealed in any way. May not have helped. Even if it was, probably could have helped. But in any case, what's happening is water's running down the wall that lands on the wall at the bottom here, and then it travels around by capillary action and ends up in the end grain, where it then wicks up, even though, so this is a kind of rising moisture, but it's not rising damp because it's not the ground that's damp. It's the wall that's getting wet from the roof runoff and then soaking back up, because water just doesn't jump away from the edge unless it has a drip edge to jump away from. So here's another view without me in it of that water damage that's accumulating at the bottom, even though there's an airspace, so it's not coming from the ground. But as you can see, the roof does not have gutters, and these are the drip edges that I don't recommend. So you can see this drip edge does not have a kick out. It actually might be something that they're supposed to bend this area out to have the kick out, but you can see it's very tight against, this is the fascia board. It's very tight against here, and as you look up, it doesn't kick out at all. And so that's the reason why the water isn't flowing away. And then I would also, so you put an airspace, a spacer behind these, which means that your roof shingles and your roof deck needs to be extended a little bit so that you can accomplish all this. So this goes back to planning. Now this fascia board is in good shape because it's on a backwards angle and the water is primarily dripping off the roof. This one is taking in some water in the end grain, which is why you see here it's warped and the paint has come off of it. And that's just because of the runoff and the rain that's connected in here, getting in the end grain. Water saturates this wood. The end grain should be primed, but even in that case, it'll eventually wear off probably. And then the paint starts peeling off because the moisture needs to dry. And so the moisture in the wood is trying to dry, and it basically pushes the paint off. And so this is one of the reasons when I talk about coatings not being a good thing on wet wood, is that wood has to dry. The only place wood's going to dry is outside of itself. And so when you have a coating that is trapping moisture, then that can actually be a worse thing and cause decay of the wood, and mold is a potential. But degradation for sure, because the wood starts to rot because the moisture cannot dry. So in most cases in nature, the paint will try to come off. That's why we see blistering and petering paint when there's water damage involved. Even on drywall and other materials, you'll see that. But this is so a little more about a detail that is easy to fix. This is really easy to fix. It's not expensive to fix. All you builders out there, get a drip edge with an edge that kicks out, provide a spacer, do some planning so your roof overhangs enough for you to have the spacer and the kick out edge on there. If you can use gutters and gutter flashing, that's great. But in this case, as I said, it's not because this damage along the bottom here is not because of rising damp from the ground, although you can see the ground is depressed from the water coming off the roof, but it's not really affecting anything here because they do have a nice slope of the concrete right here. So it's not collecting moisture in there. And again, grade slope's not great, but in this case, it's not affecting anything poorly here. So the bottoms of the columns are, the wood columns are rotting out also. What I usually recommend with these is, again, that you leave a space between, well, wood should never be in contact with concrete anyway. They may have something under there, I don't know, you can't tell. Some of them are really rotted. Let's see this one here. It's really rotted out. Now that's probably from water coming from the other way. You can see all this rot here too. And so what I recommend is you use some sort of metal connector. They make these that you raise up the post off the concrete. You leave an airspace so that it can dry, and you provide an airspace so it doesn't wick up moisture that's sitting on the ground itself. And this could also be snow melt in some places. I'm in Oklahoma, so it's probably not snow melt, but could be. Most likely this is all rain, and so the water's flowed down this wall, reversed, and basically wicked in the end grain that was probably exposed here. And you can see the wood gets wet, tries to push the paint off, and then it's degrading. So this is not the wood's problem. This is the fault of moisture. So I hope this little tidbit is helpful. Like and subscribe. See you on the next video.
If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe. For more free information on safe building, avoiding mold, and water damage, visit avoidingmold.com.